Now then, Steven Spielberg, who among his other admirable qualities is a renowned Anglophile, has recently opened an animation studio in West London, and it was there that he made An American Tale, FIEVEL Goes West, the sequel to An American Tale. What's more, Spielberg is obviously a far stauncher European community man than many of our MPs, because he shipped in a whole load of animators from all over the continent to augment the team of Britons and Americans that he'd already assembled. Film 91 was, of course, there while the film was being made.
There's 280 people here in the studio. 200 of them are on this floor. Out of that amount, about 120 of them are animators, and the rest are people who do ink and paint or Xerox, special effects, background artists, layout artists. It's mostly artists. I think part of the reason that Spielberg came to Europe is that Disney kind of has a market on the animation talent in the United States.
Basically, we're like traffic cops in a traffic jam of artists. You do this and stop. Don't do that. You do this.
Wait, no.
Yeah, so basically, we're just making sure everything goes more or less smoothly. We're trying to get 280 people to make one movie.
Animated characters start with the voice. The design can be worked on beforehand, but the voice settles everything. In this case, we got a very strong performance from Amy Irving, where she has a very thick accent and certain speech mannerisms, which would indicate a very forceful, if somewhat scatterbrained personality.
Who, me? Nah, I'm soft as this powder puff and twice as gentle. But living out here around characters like that, well, what's your name, honey?
You can see on the early drawing that she's flat-footed. She's walking on the base of the foot, whereas I like to make her walk like a real cat. She's walking on the toes, which gets a caricature of a woman's walk as well, because she swings one foot directly in front of the other, and the hips really lash out, and the huge tail swings in a figure eight. So this accentuates the rather exaggerated Mae West walk that she has.
I'll get it on the stage for you.
Well, I think it starts with the script. Much of the dialogue is written and designed to bring out a personality. And then I think that really it comes to life when you actually cast an actor. In the case of Waul, our villain, when John Cleese stepped into the studio and started reading those lines, for Simon and I, the whole script and the whole movie just came to life. It was wonderful.
So, what do we have here? It appears to be a young pioneer. Now, the feline in me would like to devour this tender young morsel, but the shrewd businessman in me knows that if I do, the other mice will miss him and come looking for him. The gourmet in me quivers at the thought of mouse tartar.
In the case of Waul, who was designed and animated by Christoph, he listened to this soundtrack and drew what he was hearing and brought to life this tremendously rich villain.
Of course, he also studied a lot of films and videos of John Cleese and really learnt his mannerisms, understood his mannerisms and behavior, and put those into the way that the character moves.
Spielberg loves a moving camera, and he's always pushing us to move the camera. And when we first sent over the storyboards, he would say, "This is too cutty. Save your cuts for when you want to build tension." So we have to make these long backgrounds and fields so that we can keep moving them under camera. So we've pushed layout and background to the absolute limits of what any of us have done before. So that's quite interesting for us, and also adds a lot of complexity to our work, but hopefully looks good.
I think if you look at some of the footage, you're going to find that we do a lot of camera work that travels all the way around the character, or dollies up, or into things.
We also go for a variety of camera angles rather than it's a simple sort of establishing shot, medium shot, and two shots. We'll actually work at a variety of angles.
This is something that you don't usually see in an animated film, or if you do, it's very limited.
Well, on this film, which is unusual for an animated film, we've decided to go for this very rich, very elaborately painted style, which is really something that harks back to the golden days of Disney and Pinocchio, which is one of our main sources. We paint in watercolour underneath, And then we go through a series of processes. We use pastel, we use crayon, and we use various other sorts of paints, and a little bit of airbrush, although we try and avoid that because it's a rather mechanical thing, just to create this sensation of depth. And the overall look of the film is something quite unusual nowadays when a lot of things are done very fast.
Well, the main difference between live-action editing and animation editing is that we edit the film first from an infinite range of possibilities. If a shot is needed from a certain angle or of a certain character, we can basically do a storyboard drawing, shoot it on film, then cut it in and use whatever length we want. We set the lengths of every shot in the film before the actual production begins so that no animator need draw any more than is absolutely necessary.
Animators are all frustrated actors wishing they could be up on the stage, but instead they're doing it with paper and pencil. But I'll tell you, the real thrill comes when the film is done and it's in the audience and you've got people from around the world laughing at your performances. It's wonderful.
Rollin', 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 rollin',
Move 'em on, hit 'em up, hit 'em up, move 'em on, move 'em on, raw hard, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, raw hard.
rollin', 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 rollin'.
Excuse me, Mr. Dog.
Well, FIEVEL Goes West opens on December the 13th, and I'll tell you more about it nearer the time.